Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Young here, and today I'm back in our Fortnite video, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys some tips and tricks on how to kill sweaty teams here in Fortnite. And I'm going to be talking about everything you guys need to know when it comes to killing these type of teams and also these type of players, so make sure you guys do stay to the end of the video. And before we get into the video, I have a V-Buck giveaway. If you guys want a chance to win some free V-Bucks, all you guys have to do is to drop a like on the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel and also subscribe to my second channel. The link for that will be in the description or the pinned comment. Turn on my post notifications and as well comment down below your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account. And as well, if you guys would like to support me in the item shop, all you guys have to do is go over to the item shop, go down to support a creator, type in my code is YoungHumor, and you guys will have me added and supported as a creator. I really do appreciate all you guys who do add me. And alright guys, let's go right to the video. Alright, so in this video, I wanted to be talking about how to kill sweaty teams here in Fortnite, and you can see sweaty teams in any game mode. Whether you're playing public matches or you're playing arena, you can see sweaty teams pretty much everywhere. So I wanted to be talking about in this video exactly how to go about fighting those type of teams, and also the best counters to have when it comes to going against those type of players, because there's definitely you have to definitely play a little bit different against those type of players than you do playing against players who aren't, really the best players in the game, people who aren't are pretty new to the game. Because you can play a little bit more relaxed and you don't have to worry about too much, because their accuracy is going to be a little off. They're not going to have, they're not going to do any crazy 90s or anything you've never seen before. So it's a lot easier to kill those type of players, obviously, for that reason. But when you are going against really good players, those sweaty teams, maybe you're playing arena and you have a decent amount of points and you're going up against really good players. There's a few things that you want to keep in mind, of course, when you are going up against those type of players. And for someone like me who plays a controller, I do have to keep that in mind every single time I'm going into a fight against another player, because a lot of times, and for me, since I play controller on PC, I'm going against keyboard and mouse players pretty much every single game or almost every single fight. I mean, there's probably a good amount of people who do play controller on PC, but the vast majority of players that I'm playing against are going to be on keyboard and mouse. So I do have to keep that in mind, because there's a lot of advantages with controller and also a lot of advantages with keyboard and mouse. And pretty much the number one thing that they have is just having a ton of binds, switching between all their materials, being a lot more accurate when it comes to building, and also aiming to accuracy is a lot easier with a really good mouse. So you have to keep in all these aspects in mind every single time you go into the fight. And of course, if you're on controller, it's a lot simpler to use. And a lot of times, if you're going against someone who hasn't spent a lot of time playing on keyboard, then you can most of the time be able to outgun them pretty easily. But for the people who have been playing very good, the sweatier players, it's going to be a lot more difficult to go against those type of players. So there's a few things that I keep in mind, the few things that I do every single time I'm going against that type of player. And so the first thing, of course, is I'm gonna have to measure how good they are, or kind of their playstyle, because I've run into, I would say, two different types of good players. And I would say the first one is like the actually like really sweaty type of player, and then you have the other player. You can tell they're good, but they just want to go for a flashy play. So they're sitting there on the wall and they're just like editing every which way. They're going for like 10 or 15 edits in a row just to try to hit a clip. So I would say those are the pretty much two try-hard players that you typically would run into. So you have the person that's really good, just trying to win a gunfight, and then you have the person who's pretty good as well, but they just are just trying to hit a clip and just try to hit you for some crazy flick shot, stuff like that. Either way, those two type of players you definitely want to play against a little bit different. And both of the players that you're going to be facing are good, but the one who likes to go for a lot of plays, and usually it's just the edit plays where they edit, the bottom three squares, they edit a window, they edit the top three squares, they keep like closing or resetting it. These players usually get pretty predictable, and the best way to play against them is just to rush them flat out. The second they go for an edit play, just rush up to them, trade shots with them. That's usually the best way that I go about it personally, because the other players are trying to hit a clip. So if you rush them, a lot of times they're not going to expect it, and they're not going to know how to play off of it right away. And so my personal, I would say now, I did play against a little bit, it really depended on the season, but I think right now the best way that you can play against those sweatier players is to play a little bit more on the defensive side or more on the reactive side. And what I mean by that, say you're in a gunfight against a sweatier player, and of course I always recommend going for high ground at the start of the fight if possible, because if you do have high ground, that does give you a pretty significant advantage, and that's something you almost have to have if you want to win. If you're playing against like 1v2 or even in a 1v3 against good players, you just have to have high ground. Otherwise there's just absolutely no chance you're going to win the fight, unless the other team just completely sells all of their shots and then you just happen to laser one of them like 4 times in the head. But in the 99% of gunfights that I went into, if you're going against a 1v3, they're not going to sell all of their shots and all of their builds. So you definitely have to have high ground at the start of the fight if you are in those type of situations. But if you're in a 1v1, and a lot of you guys have been playing a lot of solos, whether that be arena, because in arena right now there's trios and there's solos, so I know a lot of you guys are playing solo arena. So you're going to be going against a lot of 1v1s and possibly 1v2 if you have people coming in like third partying. But in those 1v1 situations, I would say my recommendation was to play a little bit or completely reactive to the other player. So personally, what I would do is I would box in, and of course I would try to go for shots high ground. But if that doesn't work, if they keep trying to box in and then not really trying to push me, I would just at first box in and then let them try to make a play on me. Because a lot of the times when you're going against these tryhard players, they're going to be trying to grab your wall. And like I said earlier, since I play on controller, I'm not really trying to fight someone who has like 10,000 different keys they can press at the same time. Meaning they can switch between their builds, whichever gun in their inventory. If you're on controller, you can't go from your build to like your minis. Because this happens a lot of times. I get shot, I need to box in, but there's someone outside of my box. And my minis are like my 4th inventory slot, my shotguns in my 2nd one. So I can't just build, immediately go to my minis, switch back to my build, go back to my shotgun, minis, back to my shotgun. I can't just do that. So the best way to play against it is to play completely reactive. So a lot of times I even had sometimes where I even let them get my wall, or I was the one to make the first move. And when you are fighting these type of players, you just have to expect that every single shot they're going to be taking is going to be extremely fast. So if you want to hit them back, you have to be quick with your shots as well. You can't have a lot of time lining up your shots. You have to be extremely quick with your shots every single shot you take. And a lot of times, if you miss just by an inch, you're going to get hit for 70 damage or so. And my recommendation, 100%, and if you're playing arena especially, you have a lot of times you're going to have max steel through the majority of the game, because that's the one material most people don't use. So after every fight, you're pretty much going to have max steel. So I would be using steel if you're going against these harder players, because they're going to try to do anything they can to try to take your wall. But if you're boxed in and your metal is already halfway built, it's going to be extremely difficult, because they're going to have to hit it with the pickaxe like 7 or 8 times to try to get the wall. So if you're building out of steel, it does give you another slight advantage as well. And when you're building out of steel, once it fully builds, it completely blacks out, meaning that you can't see through it. There's no like spaces. Like if you have a wood wall, you can see right through it. So if someone's behind the wood wall, you can easily see it. But if it's a fully built steel wall, you can't see through it. Once it's fully, I think brick you can't see it through it as well. Maybe it's like slightly, but steel for sure you can't see through it once it's fully built. So that's what I would recommend using when you're going against these type of players, because they're going to be trying to hit your pickaxe once, place a stair, try to get the top part, drop back down. And if you're building out of steel, they have to be even quicker with their movements. Otherwise, they're going to have to sit there and pickaxe your wall like 5 or 6 times to try to make a play. So building out of steel and out of wood can also give you a really good advantage. And also when you're going against these type of players, I think personally a really good preference for me as well is to play a little bit more passive, a little bit more slower than I would on a player who's not as good. Because when you're going against a really good player, I have to play it pretty slow. They get a shot on me, and I know I don't have as much HP as I want. I get off some of my heals, because even if you play it slow and you're smart about it, you can almost use other people to your advantage. So if you're playing an arena, you're up against a player you know is pretty good, and they're sweating really hard. The best thing you can do is to play really slow, because more times than not, especially in arena mode, people are going to try to third party, other people are going to try to butt in. So if you play slow, more times than not, eventually they're going to get shot in the back. And if you want to make your play, that could be a really good way to make a play on the other player, because they got lasered in the back, and then you're out there immediately taking more shots of the other player. So I think that could be an also really good way to play against them as well. And with that being said, that's a wrap up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys liked it, make sure you guys do drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on my post notifications so you guys are notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.